Mom ate all the cookies. Make her spit them out right now. My husband's frantic voice on the phone cut through the calm of the evening, but before I could react, my mother-in-law started choking, foam forming at her mouth, and then she collapsed. Panic surged through me as I dialed 911, and the ambulance arrived swiftly. At the hospital, the doctors ran tests and uncovered something alarming in her stomach. Do I have any idea what it was? Absolutely. I knew it was something meant to harm me. I'm Susan, a 32-year-old mystery novelist, married to John for 5 years. He's been on an assignment in Alaska for the past 6 months. Although we stay in touch, he's so swamped that he barely reads my texts. To combat his loneliness, I've been sending him presents with holiday cards, like New Year's greetings in January and Valentine's chocolates in February. His responses were always brief, thank you, texts. In March, John sent me a box of cookies with a note that read, I enjoyed your Valentine's chocolates. Thrilled, I immediately called him. The cookies arrived. Thanks so much. You're welcome. I appreciate the New Year's card and chocolates. I wish I could have come home for the holidays. It's alright. Flights are tough to book and expensive during that season. Actually, these are the first cookies I've ever baked. I hope you like them. Really? I'll enjoy them while working on my novel. Just then, I heard a crunching sound behind me. I turned to see Linda, my mother-in-law who lives with us, wolfing down the cookies I had been eagerly anticipating. She has a habit of eating the treats I save for myself, as she's always craving food. As a mystery writer, I rely on sweets to fuel my creativity, so I've warned her several times about not touching my snacks, but as usual, she had devoured every last cookie. Wait, what's happening? You've eaten all the cookies already? I'm sorry, I left them unattended for a moment, and my mother-in-law ate them all. What? Mom ate all the cookies I sent. Make her throw them up right now. Why should I? Before I could question his urgent demand, my mother-in-law began to choke, her eyes wide in panic. I can't breathe. In a matter of seconds, she collapsed, foam at her mouth. Mother-in-law, are you alright? Mother-in-law. I hung up on John and called 911, desperately trying to keep my mother-in-law conscious. We rushed to the hospital in the ambulance, with me pleading, hang in there. At the hospital, they pumped her stomach and examined the contents. The results were nothing short of shocking. Actually, we detected a toxic substance in Linda's stomach, the doctor said, his expression grave. The poison was extremely dangerous, odorless, and tasteless, with just 1 to 3 ounces being a potentially lethal dose. My mother-in-law had ingested more than half of that amount and would need to stay in the hospital for an extended period to receive treatment. I hate to ask, but do you have any idea how she might have ingested this poison? The doctor's words triggered a cold shiver of terror as I recalled what my mother-in-law had eaten before her collapse. This couldn't be happening. It had to be a mistake. I sat beside my unconscious mother-in-law, my mind racing with confusion. I needed answers. Once I got home to prepare for her hospital stay, I called my husband, who was clearly anxious about his mother's sudden illness. Is Mom okay? She's unconscious and will need to stay in the hospital for treatment. It looks like she ingested poison. Poison? How could this happen? I need to ask you something. The cookies Linda ate before she collapsed, you made them, right? Are you implying I had something to do with this? My husband's voice grew tense, but given the situation, it's the only explanation that makes sense. Susan, as a mystery writer, you should know that you can't accuse someone based solely on circumstantial evidence. Are you trying to accuse me without any real proof? His harsh criticism stung. He was right, but then he said something that made me question my own ears. If anything, you were the one closest to Mom. You're the one who looks suspicious. Are you trying to shift the blame onto me? You started by suspecting me first, I retorted. The conversation devolved into a heated argument, with accusations flying back and forth. Eventually, my husband's frustration boiled over. Enough. Without solid evidence, you can't call the police. I'm not coming back, so you need to handle this. Take care of Mom. With that, he ended the call, slamming the phone down in anger. I was left stunned and infuriated by his accusations. I stared at my phone, my frustration simmering. So that's how it's going to be. If you want to play this game, I'll find the evidence myself and get to the bottom of this. Determined to uncover the truth, I grabbed a pair of white gloves and a clear evidence bag from my study. I had originally bought these items as props for the mystery novels I write, but now I found myself in a real-life situation where they were needed. Despite my experience writing about mysteries, this was my first time dealing with one in reality, and I was unsure where to begin. I started by examining the area where my mother-in-law had fallen ill. The scene remained untouched since the chaos of her collapse. The floor hadn't even been vacuumed. Like a detective, I crawled around the sofa where she had been sitting and the surrounding area, scanning for any clues. Is this a piece of cookie? I spotted what looked like a fragment of the cookie my mother-in-law had been eating. Carefully using tweezers, I picked it up and placed it into the evidence bag. Though each piece was small, my mother-in-law had a habit of spilling food, so I managed to collect enough fragments to test for poison. I also gathered crumbs from the original cookie box. However, this evidence alone wouldn't be enough. As my husband pointed out, it's possible I could have planted it. I needed something more concrete that clearly implicated him. Then a thought struck me: if my husband was responsible, how did he get hold of such a dangerous poison? I resolved to investigate how he might have acquired it. I called a police officer acquaintance I'd met during my research for my novels. As I listened to his explanations and took notes, a troubling possibility began to take shape. Though I had hoped it wasn't true, my fears were confirmed when I reviewed my recordings of past conversations with my editor. My suspicions about my husband were validated. It was clear now, he no longer loved me. Despite my constant efforts to stay connected through gifts and regular communication, his feelings had shifted. It seemed he even harbored ill will towards me. Tears streamed down my face, but crying wouldn't solve anything. I called my mom, explained the situation, and asked her to look after my mother-in-law. Then I quickly booked a flight and hotel to Alaska, keeping my plans secret from my husband. Upon arriving, I staked out his apartment. The snow-covered landscape of Alaska in March was bitterly cold, but I layered up and, shivering, kept watch. When my husband left, I followed him discreetly, camera in hand, determined to gather evidence. After several days of surveillance, I had collected enough proof. It was time to confront him. Standing in front of his apartment, I rang the doorbell. Hey, what? Susan, what are you doing here? Hello, John. It's been a while since we've seen each other in person. I smiled and said casually, standing around in the entryway isn't ideal. Let's talk inside. I stepped into his apartment, and he reluctantly served me a weak coffee, clearly eager for me to leave. So, what brings you here? He asked with a frown. Oh, is it such a bother for a wife to visit her husband? That's not what I meant. You don't have to pretend. You've got a date with another woman after this, don't you? His surprise was evident as he spat out his coffee and began coughing violently. Oh, did you come all the way to Alaska just to say that? Not just that. I need to discuss something important. I want us to get a divorce. Please sign the papers. Whoa, you're still holding a grudge about our argument over Mom. You need to stop with these delusions. As he stared at the divorce papers I handed him, disbelief was evident on his face, but panic and cold sweat were also starting to show. If you're accusing me, then you need to show some proof. The cookie is in Mom's stomach. I doubt there's anything left of it. I anticipated that response, so I made sure to gather evidence. I didn't fly out here for $500 one way without proof. I pulled out a clear evidence bag containing a cookie fragment. Here's a piece of the cookie you sent. It's enough for poison detection. Even if poison is found in my mother's stomach, it doesn't automatically link the cookie to the poisoning. We'll examine it, but remember, it's possible you could have planted the poison yourself. I spoke with a police officer friend about the poison. It's not something easily accessible. It would have to come from a specialized pharmacy. That's why it's unlikely that I could have obtained it. I don't work in pharmaceuticals or any related field. My husband slammed his hand on the table, trying to intimidate me and end the discussion, but I remained composed. That's why I suspect there might be an accomplice. You seem quite close with this woman, don't you? I presented the next piece of evidence, a photograph I had taken while trailing him. His face turned pale as he saw the image of a woman clinging to his arm, with him reciprocating the gesture. Her name is Anne. She works at a nightclub. I took this photo in Anchorage. Susan, aren't you ashamed of taking such intrusive photos? Aren't you ashamed of being involved with a nightclub worker while you're married? His face flushed with anger, and he glared at me, but I refused to back down. I found out that Anne is studying to become a pharmacist while working at the nightclub. It's possible she could have stolen some poison from her studies and persuaded you to send me a laced cookie. No, I only know her from the nightclub. I had no idea she was studying pharmacy or anything about the poison. This is pure speculation without evidence. He stammered, struggling to maintain his excuses. I sighed and pulled out my mobile phone. You clearly value her more than me, but I have proof. I turned the volume all the way up and played a recorded call between us. Despite the call being from his room, faint sounds of a running shower and a woman's voice saying, "John, come join me," were audible. The background noises were barely noticeable unless the volume was cranked up high. Well, your claim that you only met her at the nightclub is clearly a lie. If I dig deeper into the voice recording, I can identify who it belongs to. Alright, I admit it, I cheated. But so what? It's your fault for not being as attractive as Anne, and my infidelity doesn't prove that I poisoned anyone. Defiant and unremorseful, my husband sprawled out in his chair. I decided to play another recording. This time, it captured him saying, just before my mother-in-law collapsed, "Did Mom eat all the cookies I made? Make her throw up immediately." Care to explain why you said that if you were supposedly unaware of anything? His face went pale, and he bowed his head, struggling to maintain his composure. Susan, how much do you know? I'm guessing you're targeting me for the royalties from the novels I've written. His reaction confirmed my suspicion. Royalties are given to the copyright holder and can be inherited by their family upon their death. He must have envisioned himself enjoying those royalties with his mistress. Please, forgive me. I did it because she pressured me. Really? There's no evidence suggesting she had any dirt on you. Are you just deflecting blame again? I thought I had covered my tracks. Begging won't change anything. How do you think I'd feel in my position? I have no intention of forgiving you. I slammed the divorce papers on the table. Let's just get this over with. Just because I'm begging doesn't mean you can take advantage. Furious, my husband grabbed me by the collar, trying to force me to the ground. But just then, that's enough. The police officers I'd called earlier burst into the room. I'm glad I called them in advance. You never know what might happen. In the end, my husband was arrested. I handed over all the evidence to the police, had him sign the divorce papers, and made him cover all the hotel and flight expenses. Then I left, feeling a sense of relief as I headed home. The very next day, his mistress was arrested as an accomplice, and the two of them now share a jail cell. Naturally, I demanded a divorce settlement from both of them, and once I receive it, everything will be finalized. Afterward, I revealed the truth to my mother-in-law, who had been discharged from the hospital, and we said our goodbyes. I moved to a new apartment, and a year later, I used this experience as the basis for a mystery novel. To my surprise, it became a huge hit. For a novelist, every experience, whether good or bad, can be a wellspring of inspiration.